Okay, good afternoon class. So today we're looking at past papers, final exam of 2019. This was the paper 2 that we are working on, okay. So we got up until question 4. Right, so let's go to question 5. In question 5.1, we are asked to simplify the following for 6 marks. Reduction formula. Okay. So what happens here is that this is all stations to Claremont. So you see beta minus 90. We know that it's going to give it in your fourth quadrant. And then that would simply be negative cos of beta. Now say we don't know, we tend to not use a negative angle. We then add 360 to it, which then gives us sine of 360 minus 90 is 270 plus beta. Now 270 plus beta still takes you to the fourth quadrant where sine is negative. But changes to cos. Although it's changed to cos, and cos is positive in the fourth quadrant. Okay? It remains negative cos because sine is negative in that quadrant. Times. Again a negative 180, add 360, I get 180 minus beta. 180 minus beta taken to the second quadrant is negative 10 beta times. 180 plus cos in the third quadrant is negative, so it's negative cos beta over negative beta. Again I add 360 to it, is going to become 360 minus beta, which is cos beta times 270. We minus 360, which gives you 360. Minus 360 just gives you the angle of beta. So it's sine of beta. Negative times negative times negative is negative. Cos cancels cos. Tan can be written as sine over cos. So sine beta over cos beta times cos beta over 1 all over sine beta. So the cos is cancelled. So I'm left with negative sine beta over sine beta, which is negative. Okay. Any confusion here? Did you do the sum? So how can you have no problem if you don't do the sum? Error. Alright, 5.2. Okay, 5.2. It says prove the identity. This is a left and right hand side story. Okay. As you can see here, the left hand side is more complex. I know there's people that can make the right hand side look equal to the left hand side. Yes, we know of those guys. Yes. But okay, that's how it goes. Well, we know that tan can be written as sine over cos. So it's going to be sine squared A over cos squared A times cos squared A over 1 plus. That means divide, not so. So it's sine squared A divided by tan can be written as sine squared A over cos squared A. Okay. Naturally, this is over 1. The cos is cancelled. Leaves us with sine squared A plus. This will change to multiplication, tumble and times. So it's sine squared A over 1 times cos squared A over sine squared A. So what happens? Sine squared A cancels sine squared A. Not so. So it's sine squared A plus cos squared A. What's sine squared A plus cos squared A? 1. Which is equal to the Okay? 5.3. If sine of alpha equals 3 over 5 and A is less than 90, what does that mean? Okay. So sine of sine of alpha is equal to 3 over 5. Alpha is less than 90. What does that mean? That the angle is in the first quadrant. Okay. Less than 90 means first quadrant. So if I take that into account, sine stands for opposite over hypotenuse. So there's your alpha. Opposite is 3. Hypotenuse is 5. How do you get this third side? Pythagoras, which gives us a length of 4. That's a Pythagorean triple. Go for it. Come on. Don't die now.
Sorry.
Okay. Right. Tan of beta is equal to negative 2 over 3, which means to say tan is negative. Which quadrant is tan negative? All stations to Claremont. 2 and 4. But beta is greater than 180, but less than 360. This is speaking about quadrant 3 and 4. Which quadrant is this then in? Quadrant 4. Okay. The angle goes that way, and that's your beta angle. What does tan stand for? Opposite over adjacent. Opposite is 2, adjacent is 3. What do you notice? I haven't put in my sign immediately. Okay? Now we say, okay, the 2 is then belonging to the negative part of your y-axis. Can you see that? So that negative is actually belonging to the 2 as indicated it. So yes, it is negative. Well, this is positive on the positive part of the x-axis. But if I had written tan of beta is equal to 2 over minus 3, that negative still belongs to that 2. No? Because 2 over minus 3 can be written as minus 2 over 3, which can be written as minus 2 over 3. All of that is the same.
Apologies for the interruption.
You guys understand?
Kiara Johnson, Cassidy Rehnquist, can you please make your way to the office? Kiara Johnson in grade 10 and Cassidy Rehnquist in grade 12. Can you please make your way to the office? Thank you.
Okay. Now it says, whoops. Now we are asked to calculate 25 cos squared A, so it's going to be 25. Oh yes, what is this length here? It's going to be negative 2 squared plus 3 squared, which is 9, 13. It's going to be the square root of 13, correct? Remember that your hypotenuse is never negative. Hypotenuse is negative, never negative. Okay. Doesn't easy to put your name in, man. You need the register. Whoever was here since this morning, that means Just say from 8 to 2, whatever. Alright, so cos. Now you see, this is for alpha. So I can only use the alpha angle, alpha diagram, which is this one here. This was the beta angle. No? So alpha is going to be, cos is adjacent, which is 4 over hypotenuse, which is 5 squared minus 13. And then sine of beta is opposite, which is negative 2 over square root 13. That gives me 16, so that the 25's cancel, minus the 13's cancel, 4, which is... You guys understand? Any confusion? Right. Now we are on question 6. Question 6, 6.1. You are asked to solve for A is an element of negative 180 to 180 if 4 cos squared A plus 2 sine A cos A is equal to 1. For 7 marks, people. Okay, that's normally the question you guys give out. No? But not anymore. Right. So what's going to happen here is that you see you got the cos squared, here sine and cos. So that 1 you need somewhere. You coming tomorrow? You got enough homework for tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing for tomorrow?
I have to do 2 activities and in the P section.
Of those papers. And bring your paper 1 work with. Right, so now number 1 can be converted to? What can number 1 be converted to? So sine squared plus cos squared. That was equal to 1. Not so. Everything over to one side. So it's going to be 4 cos squared A minus cos squared A is going to give you 3 cos squared A. Plus 2 sine A cos A minus sine squared A is equal to 0. Okay. Pull this over. Okay. So now what do you see there? You should see a trinomial. Can you see that? So that's going to be 3x squared plus 2xy minus y squared equal to 0. Not so? Wherever I see a cos, I put the x. Wherever I see a sine, I put the y. Basically. For those of you who are squinting your eyes as if this you've never seen such a thing before, it's the same as saying 3x squared plus 2x minus 1. Okay. You know how to factorize that. Which are the capital letters, that's the problem. No. Okay. So, if you factorize this, no, you use a quadratic formula. Otherwise, you can, I'm sorry, some of you can factorize it. So, they give you a third. Or x is equal to 1 in the negative. Okay? So if you take this into account, then it's going to be x is equal to 1 over 3y or x is equal to negative 1. Not so. But what is in the place of x? X is in the place of what, sorry? Cos. Not so? I'll just pull this down a bit. So if x in the place of cos, then we got 3. A is equal to 1 over 3. And in place of y? Sine A. Can you see that, people? Or, on the other hand, we got again cos of A equals negative sine A. Do I have to do this? No. You can see the trinomial, you can go straight into it. Okay? But if you don't understand, you of course got that root. So what do? We divide both sides by sine over cos. So you divide both sides by cos. Why by cos? Because sine over cos is 10. 10. So 1 over 3. 1 over 3, 10. A is equal to 1. So to get 10 on its own, I say 10 of A is equal to 1 divided by a third is going to give you 3. Can you see that? So what do I do now? I work out a reference angle A. So arctan of 3. Whoops. Arctan of 3 gives us 71,57. Okay. So which question comes to mind at this point? In which quadrant? Is 10 positive. In which quadrant is 10 positive? First and third. But remember, a tan is a repeated solution, not so? I'll just write the first quadrant. So A is going to be 71,57 plus K times 180. Not so? On the other hand, we do the same story. You divide both sides by cos. Why? Because the sine of a cos is tan. So that is tan. So negative tan A is equal to 1. So tan of A is equal to negative 1. We work out a reference angle. Arc tan of 1 is 45 degrees. Remember, we dropped the negative. Which question comes which question comes to mind? In which quadrant is tan? Negative. The cos diagram, the tan is negative in the second and fourth quadrant. How do we get in the second quadrant? It's going to be 180 minus 45 plus K times 180. So that's going to give you 135 plus K times 180. Where K is an element of integers. But people, there's a restricted domain. It's from negative 180 to 180. You must take that into account. Okay, so what do I say? Theta, A is in an element of what I do is I put 0 in first. Put 0 in here. And then get 71,5. Not so. Now I put a 1 in there. If I put the 1 in there, it's going to be over that 180. Not so. Now you put negative 1 in. So you say 71,57 plus negative 1 times 180. Give me negative 108,43. Now if I'm going to put negative 2 in there, it will be lower than the bottom end. Not so. Less than negative 180. So what do I do now? I go on the other branch. I put 0 in here, I get 135. If I put 1 in there, I'm going to get 225, which is over. Not so. So now you put minus 1 in. Put minus 1 in, and then get negative 45 degrees. I'm going to put negative 2 in, definitely it's going to give you a value for less than negative 1. Okay? 7 marks for that thing. That's sum. 6.2. It says if sine of theta is equal to k, calculate in terms of k the value of. So what do we do first? We draw a triangle. So you say sine of theta equals k over 1. So sine stands for what? Opposite over hypotenuse. I had to tell you it's in the first quadrant, but okay. So that's going to give you theta there, not so? Sine is opposite hypotenuse. So how do you get the third side? How do you get the third side? Applying Pythagoras. So 1 squared is equal to k squared plus the adjacent side squared. So it's going to be 1 minus k squared is equal to your adjacent side squared. The square root thereof is 1 minus k squared. People, the square root of 1 minus k squared is never 1 minus k. Okay, why? Because of the minus between them. Okay. So cos of 6.2.1, cos of theta, cos is adjacent, which is the square root of 1 minus k squared over hypotenuse, which is the square root of 1 minus k squared. You could have gone from cos of theta straight into that answer. Okay? The next one is 6.2.2, cos of 90 plus theta. First we're going to apply the reduction formula. So 90 plus theta takes you into which quadrant? Second quadrant. It's cos positive and negative in the second quadrant. Negative, but changes to sine of theta. So sine of theta, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So it's going to be negative k over 1, which is negative. Okay. 6.3. In question 6.3 we are told if x plus 1 over x equal to 2 cos beta, and beta is greater than 180 but less than greater than 0 but less than or equal to 180, and x squared plus 1 over x squared is equal to 1, calculate B, angle B. Or calculating beta, sorry. So if you look at this here, for me to land up with the square, I have to say x plus 1 over x is equal to 2 cos beta. To end up with the square, I'm going to square both sides. Not so. I have to square both sides. Which now gives me first term squared is x squared plus x times 1 over x times 2, because that's a binomial square. If you didn't know that, no problem, you write it out twice and you multiply the story out. Okay, so that cancels, leaves you with 2 plus 1 over x squared equals, this whole thing must be squared, so it's going to be 4 cos squared beta. Not so. Then, we know that cos x squared plus 1 over x squared is equal to what? That's equal to 1. So 1 plus 2 is? Well done, it's 3. 4 cos squared beta. What do we do now? Divide by 4 both sides. So you got cos squared beta is equal to 3 over 4. Now what? Square root. If I introduce square root, let's not forget. Plus minus. So cos beta is equal to plus minus the square root of 3 over 2. So hang on. 3 over 2 is a special angle, not so. Okay, if you didn't know that, no problem. Arc cos of 3, root 3 over 2 will give you 30 degrees. Not so. The girls of the month are living. You okay, my girl? You okay? Am I that boring today? Zoned out. Nice. Okay. I'm feeling bad now. Right, here we go. So second, it could be because beta is greater than 0 but less than 180. So it's either in the first or second quadrant, not so. So my reference angle is going to be 60 degrees, 30 degrees. No? So in quadrant 1, so beta is equal to 30 degrees, or in quadrant 2, what will it be in quadrant 2? 180 minus 30, which is 150 degrees. Okay. So that is worth 5 marks. Where's that other girl? You still gone to the bathroom? Did somebody leave for the bathroom? Huh? On my way. Yes, as soon as she gets back, you can. Alright, listen. You just came from a break now. What's wrong with you people? Right, so, okay. Listen, for some of you that are, what do you call them, monitors or what? Prefix, what do you guys, prefix or monitors? Monitors. You, listen, you guys can't use your maths period leave it, just leave it. Alright. So cos of we told that f of x equal to cos, sorry, f of the sketch of f of x equal to sine a x and g of x equal to cos x minus b is given below. So for the g of x graph, the graph has shifted b units horizontally, whilst that A affects the period of the graph. Not so. So if you look at this here, the first question says find the value of A and B. So A is on the sine, and this is your f of x graph. So this is your f graph here. So the period of the sine graph is normally 360. What's the period of this sine graph? From 0 to 180. Okay? So which means to say your A value is 2. Okay? Which means to say the period is must divide into 2. Then the cos of x graph, the basic cos graph starts at 1 and it does that at 360. However, if I look at this graph here, it actually moved here. Can you see the starting point moved there? Okay? So I need to find at least a point on this graph, and yes I do, I have a point of negative 120. Can you see that? So what do I do is I substitute negative 120 and 0 into g of x. Okay. So that's an x and a y, g of x is a y, so 0 is equal to cos negative 120 minus b. Right. So, if I take that into, I didn't actually have to do this because I know that if I had to draw this graph, there's actually an easier way to do it. If I had drawn this graph, that is what the graph would have looked like. Not so. But what do you notice about this graph? They have shifted how many degrees? This is negative 180 here. It actually shifted how many degrees? Sorry, not 90. This is negative 90. Not 180. This is negative 180. Moved 30 degrees in that direction. Not so. Which means to say, you must add 30. Okay. So if we add 30 here, is plus 30. But there's a minus b there, so what happens? The b is actually negative 30. B is equal to negative 30 degrees. That's going to be easy. Okay. Alright. Thought that's going to happen. Okay. So our equation now reads f of x is equal to sine 2x, whilst g of x is equal to cos x plus 30. Okay. Then, some exciting questions here. For those of you who did it. Yeah. Okay. So here we are told that determine the coordinates of C, the turning point of g of x. So now you see the turning point of the g of x graph would have happened at 180 degrees and negative 1. That is the cos of x graph. Not so. So what's going to happen to that turning point? It's going to move how many degrees? 30 degrees to the left. So this turning point is now where? At? If I move 30 degrees to the left to, from 180, 150 is. 150 and negative 1. So C is 150 and negative 1. Okay. In 6.4.3, 6.4.3, you are told that for which values of x, where x is less than 0, which means to say I'm only going to consider this part of the graph. Only. Why? Because we are told that x is less than 0. If they had told us that x is more than 0, I would have gone in that direction. Can you see that, people? Alright. So f of x must be divided by g of x is going to be an answer greater than or equal to 0. People, what does greater than or equal to 0 mean? It must be positive. Under what condition, when we multiply, it will be positive? Both is negative or both is positive. Okay? Either both is negative or both is positive. So, if I look at this here, if the graph is above this line, then it is positive. If it's below the line, it's going to be negative. Okay, so let's look here. What do you notice about the graph from negative 180 to 120? One is positive, one is negative. So I'm not interested in that. Not so. Not interested in that. However, if I look from 120 to this point, which is negative 90, what do you notice? Both is positive. So that's what I want. Can you see that, people? What do you notice from negative 120 to 0? One negative and one is positive. Up until that point. Okay? So that point could be considered because it's a 0 value there. Not so? So they said equal to 0. Okay? So let's see. So we say x must be greater than negative 120 but less than negative 90. Or x could also be equal to 0. Not so? Now let's look at the equal. There's an equal sign. Okay? Now for it to be equal to 0, the numerator can be 0. The denominator can't be 0. Why can the denominator not be equal to 0? Otherwise the sum will be undefined. So g of x can't be 0. So this is the g of x graph. Not so? Where's g of x 0? At 120. So can I put the equal sign at 120? No. Can I put the equal sign at negative 90? Yes. And I can consider that point as well because the numerator is 0 there. Okay? You guys understand? I like that question, huh? So make sure that you guys get one of those. It's a pleasure, Michael. Sorry? 6.4.3, yes?
No, they only give one solution. They didn't give.
Did you give this one here?
No. So that's why I was wondering, it was weird that like it's 3 blocks.
Sorry, my mistake. I think that's my paper, no? I said this paper. Yeah, it looks like mine. No? I should have put it in the 0 as well. Because why? It's. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is. No, it's actually not. Why is it not? You were going to say. But why not? This year. Sorry? Why? It must be? There we go. Well done. You see, she's saying that it has to be less than 0. It can't be equal to 0. So this must be omitted. This is not part of the solution. 3 marks is 1 for your critical values. For getting those two. And 1 for that inequality. Yeah. Why could I give you 2 on your critical values? And 1 on your inequality. Provided it's a continuous solution. So yes, that is correct. Shouldn't be included. Okay. Yeah, I was almost caught out by my own question. Imagine. Sorry? Yeah. No, I can't sleep tonight. Yes?
So,
Who's talking? Yes? If you had written this, you're going to lose 1 more.
even if everything else is right.
Yeah. Because now she's saying if she had written all that Mickey Mouse right there and still put this in here, would she get full marks? The answer is no. Because you are not adhering to the restriction. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Right. So sometimes, I know in primary school when shouldn't say that, but I would say when you're in the younger grades, then the teacher say must give 5 factors and you give about 20. And the teacher feel excited about you and like you know your work. No, it doesn't work like that here, okay? Because there's a restriction and you must adhere to the restriction. Okay, there's a condition that needs to be met as well. The last question says determine the equation of f of x if the y-axis is moved 30 degrees to the left. If the y-axis moves 30 degrees to the left, it's the same as moving the graph 30 degrees to the right. So we must not move the axis, we move the graph. Not so. So if we say determine the equation of f the y-axis moves 30 degrees to the left, is the same as saying f of x and moving the graph 30 degrees to the okay, so basically what happens here, let me just check with you. Alright, so we are asked determine the equation of f of x if the y-axis moves 30 degrees to the left. It's the same as moving the graph 30 degrees to the right. So in other words, in 6.4.4's answer is going to be y is equal to sine 2x, 2 into x plus 30. You sure it's plus? It's the same. The graph is moving 30 degrees to the right. It's minus 30. What's wrong? No, yours is right. Yes, what's the answer in the book?
It's negative 30.
Is it right? One more came. But there we go. Everything counts if you want the A for maths. There's minus. Huh? I just drew the graph for you. Didn't you see? You saw, but now why are you not accepting what I've drawn for you? When we come to that point in our extra lessons, we'll talk about it. Okay. Right, let's look at the next one. A is the point 100 meters north of B. So that is your length there of AB is going to be 100. And C is a beacon on the island, so that CAB is equal to CBA is equal to 55. So you've got an isosceles triangle. So the question says calculate the distance BC. Calculate the distance BC. So from here I can calculate angle C. So angle C is going to be 180 minus 55 times 2, which is 70 degrees, not so? So for the sine rule I needed this angle. So BC over sine of 55 is equal to 100 over sine of 70. So BC sine 70 is equal to 100. Sine 55 divided by sine 55 both sides. Sorry, sine 70 both sides, sorry. So that would give us 100 sine 55 over sine 70. Gives us 87,17. Okay? Correct? Then it says the shortest distance from the beacon to bank A. The shortest distance in an isosceles triangle, of course, the shortest distance is always going to be perpendicular. Not so sure, which is that case there. So in other words, we need to calculate. So let's make this A, B. This was a C. Let's make that D. We're going to calculate CD. So if that is perpendicular and this is an isosceles triangle, then these lengths are halved. So that is 50 meters. Can you see that, people? So we have 55. So we got the triangle looking like this. We got 55. We got 90. We got C, D, and A. And this is 50. So to calculate CD is going to be opposite, and we have the, what is that? Your adjacent. So which trigonometric function is opposite and adjacent? You are on the roll. And then you mess it up by saying cos. Which trigonometric function is opposite? 10, yes. It's 55 equals opposite. CD over 50. Cross multiply. Which implies that CD is equal to 50, 10, 55. There's 50, 10, 55. Gives us 71,41. 71,41 meters. Okay. Is that correct? Yes, okay. You have your own conversation there.
You're beef with me, don't you?
Okay, relax your bones, it's fine. Okay. Here we are told that Joshua stands at point A and observes that the angle of elevation to the top of the church sphere is C is theta. He then walks X meters east and now finds the angle of elevation to point B to be alpha. Show that the height of the church given as. So in other words, this would say 90 degrees here. So what we do is we set up a triangle dealing with that. Okay? So let's call this A, B, C, D. So in triangle CDA, we need to use opposite and we need to use the CA. Why? Because that's the link between the two triangles. Okay? So we see the magic function is that
Please report to the office.
Sine. Sine of theta is equal to H over CA. Now they want H as the subject of the formula. So we cross multiply. So H is equal to CA sine theta. Now in the other triangle, in triangle CAB, you see there's a whole lot of sine, so we're going to use the sine. Okay. However, this angle here is needed if you want to pick up K. How do we get this? The exterior angle is equal to the sum of the two interior opposites. Can you see that? So in other words, ACB plus angle alpha is equal to theta, exterior angle of triangle. So ACB is equal to theta minus alpha. Okay, so that is theta minus alpha. So now, that now gives us sine of alpha over CA is equal to sine of theta minus alpha over K. So I'm going to make CA the subject of the formula. So that would simply be CA sine theta minus alpha. I'm cross multiplying. So CA is simply sine theta, CA is equal to K sine alpha over sine theta minus alpha. So what we do is we replace CA with that. So therefore, H is equal to K sine alpha over sine theta minus alpha. Now you see that is times by sine of alpha, theta, so it belongs to the numerator. This times sine of theta. As you can see, it's exactly what they wanted from you. Okay? Definitely going to get the sum like this in the exam. Okay? So in tomorrow's lesson, we're going to conclude the measurement as well as the geometry. People enjoy the rest of your day. Good morning. Good afternoon, class.